again, everyone. Welcome to another week of Infield Fly, talking baseball with you. Another busy week in Major League Baseball as we're getting close here. What do we got?
2 weeks left.
Braves have
2
played
weeks.
148, so only 14 games left.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. 14 games left on the schedule, and then postseason, and a lot still to be determined. We will break that all down for you here on Infield Fly. I'm Rob Fisher. I'm a Cardinals fan, rooting for Adam Wainwright, although I'm wearing a Ronald Acuna shirt today because he's the MVP. Keith Murphy is with us. He's a Chicago Cubs fan. Struggled a little bit this week, but in the mix in this crazy.
Hello, darkness, my friend. Like, this is crazy, man. It's not right now. I'll get into it, but this is horrible, man.
Yeah. And Lang Whitaker, he's a Braves fan. Braves
Same thing.
They're scuffling a little bit.
Yeah, we just got swept in Miami. Like we're not playing great either right now.
Yeah, that hurt my betting this week for sure.
We fell to 43 games above 500.
See, if I was there, I swear I'd be jumping across the table on you. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah, real rough. Just got to figure things out. The big story of the week wasn't a shocker. Shohei Ohtani's season is over. Angels placed the AL MVP favorite on the injured list with an oblique strain. So his season's over. Not a surprise. I think he wanted to play because there were some marks he wanted to get to 100 RBIs and wanted to see how many home runs he could finish with, and certainly can be the MVP of the American League, which I still think he will be.
Yep.
But I mean, he needs to get shut down. I mean, we got to get the surgery going, get this thing going, and so he can get back as soon as possible.
Agreed.
I mean, he should have got the surgery soon as they announced the first injury. You should not even have been playing out there like that. Now, I understand this is when you need people on your team to like just to pull you away from your worst impulses, because that's what happened. He had everybody on his team, that was like, hey, yeah, you can do it, and yes, man, all around in a way, but nobody was looking out for that man. You could tell. I mean,
unless like the only way I could see him continuing to play was if they were in the running to still.
But Lane, they was dropping like stones when it was happening. Like, I don't even.
And then it just becomes like, hey, I'm just trying to set some personal numbers here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if you're the Angels and you're hoping to resign this guy, like, are you going to be out there telling him what to do?
No, absolutely not. And that's what I've said about free agency and even playing right now. It's all whatever Shohei wants to do.
Yeah.
Cool. And if Shohei wanted to keep playing, I mean, if you're the manager, great. Yeah, I'd love for you to keep playing. Yeah, let's stay in the lineup as long as possible. But, if you're the organization, you're like, all right, come on, let's get the surgery over because we're going to try and re-sign you. We want you to be back. And other teams probably want him to get the surgery over so they can sign him in the offseason. So, but I think it's all about whatever Shohei wants. Shohei, when he's a free agent, if Shohei wants to pitch and every fifth day and play a designated hitter every day, that's what Shohei's going to get. It's all about what he wants. And I think he wanted to play, but this oblique injury is those are just pains. However, sources have told Dylan Hernandez of the Los Angeles Times that the Dodgers remain interested in pursuing Ohtani this offseason. How about that for breaking news?
Sources.
Yeah. Gotta put the quotes around that one.
Dodgers are interested. Go figure. Another big injury. What's going on with Ronald Acuna's calf?
Nobody knows.
I mean, they haven't really said anything.
No, just discomfort. That's all we know.
Discomfort.
Yeah. And
he missed what, 2 games?
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday.
He had played every game of the season before that. So I'm hoping he's okay. I mean, look, if it's Ozzy had like the hamstring strain a couple of weeks ago, and they sat him for like a week. I sit Acuna for the next 2 weeks. Like
yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? Like he's gonna win the MVP. He's not gonna do anything but maybe get hurt worse. So the one thing about Acuna is he's had this history of when he gets hurt, any injury seems like it's like the worst injury possible when it happens, and then usually he's back like a day later or something like that. I hopefully this isn't bad, but I'd rather, man, if there's ever a time to be safe than sorry, this is it.
Yeah.
I mean, at least the crazy part about it is all of those, folks that tend to say that The only reason he's doing well from the MVP race is because, he has this great team behind him. When he went down, what happened? You're like, you lose. So I think his just what he's worth to that team, what he does for that team should never be discounted. Like people should not even say, oh, they're just running away with it. He's just icing on the cake. I mean, I've seen this on social media like a million times, So yeah, I think he's proven his worth, but people just need to shut up now because the losing spells it out when he's not out there.
I think it was also partially like they were trying to. That series in Miami was a couple of things. Like the pitching was, they threw Schuster one of those games and he's not been good. It was one of those games you just knew they were going to lose. But also like I think they didn't want to play Acuna on the turf in Miami with that injury, and they were just trying to be safe about it. So they got the Phillies this week. We'll see if he plays in that series.
The Royals and the A's passed the 100 loss mark. So congratulations for both of those teams. The White Sox and Rockies could be next. We could have 4 teams hit the century mark in losses this year. White Sox and Rockies are both 7 losses away from getting to 100. So go Rockies and White Sox. Big news out of St. Louis this week. John Mozeliak, I don't know what his title is. He's the general manager. He announced that Ollie Marmol will be back as the manager in 2024.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Wow.
Ollie's got a record of 159 and 151. And this year wasn't just that the pitching sucked for the Cardinals. This year was a lot of dysfunction at the beginning of the season that was caused by the manager.
That's not why they're bad, though.
No, I mean, they were bad because their pitching sucked.
You can have dysfunction and be a good team. Like they have a bad roster.
But you lost your chemistry in the first month of the season.
Yep.
First month of the season. And just try, and then from that point on, trying to play catch up, and it just his management of lineups is disgusting. His handling of the pitching staff is head scratching. I just 159 and 151. Here we go. Cardinals. Ollie Marmol. The Ollie Marmol reign continues next year.
That should be their like hashtag for next year. Disgusting and head scratching.
Head scratching.
St. Louis Cardinals.
You're a St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, my St. Louis Cardinals. My goodness. I don't own stock in them like I do the Braves, though. Go Braves.
That's right.
Also learned this week, umpire Angel Hernandez called the worst game of the season Thursday and the worst since April of 2022. He made 92 calls, missed 16 of them for a correct call rate of 82.6%. The worst called game. Now, here's the thing. I don't know how it's going to work when we have the robot umpires. I don't know if it's going to be umpires still making the calls, and if the player wants to challenge one or something, then they can. I don't know. But if that's how it works, Angel games are going to take a long time because we're going to have a lot of challenges. I mean, some of these calls, he and CB Buckner, how they're still employed is just beyond me. It's laughable.
Yeah. We've talked about that. Murph, you talked about how they have the best union and
the best union.
Yeah.
It's incredible that the NFL, wherever the union reps over there, need to get on the phone with them and figure out how they're doing it, because it's just people that just continue to have jobs that should not even be in there. He's past his prime. That's the issue.
Did he ever have a prime?
I mean, he was like a showboating guy. He's kind of electric. But we don't ask that from our umpires, man. We want them just to be there and just to make calls. We don't want you to be part of the game.
We don't need Enrico Palazzo and behind home plate.
I was at spring training for the Cardinals back when I covered the Cardinals in radio in St. Louis, and we had an off day in Jupiter, and we decided, well, let's just go to the ballpark. It's a beautiful day. I think the Expos were playing somebody, or maybe I guess it was the Marlins by then, but the Marlins were playing somebody, and so we went, and there was nobody there. It was great. And we're sitting up in the patio and we're drinking beer, and Angel Hernandez is umpiring at first base. And there is this is spring training in front of about 1,000, maybe. and there's a close call at first base, and he just guns it and lifts his leg, and you can hear him scream, ah, you know, and it was like, oh my God, what is he doing? So I screamed from the patio, and everyone in the stadium could hear me. I said, great call, Angel. I paid to see you today. And he looked up in the crowd, and all the dudes in the bullpen started laughing. And like 2 months later, he's umpiring a game in St. Louis. And after the game, he's at a restaurant, and a friend of mine, she worked there, and she goes up to him and says, hey, do you remember in spring training a guy yelling, and he said, Angel, I paid to see you? And she said, yeah, do you remember that? And he's like, yeah, I remember that. She's like, that was a friend of mine. And he's like, yeah, tell him I heard it. I was like, oh man, what a tool, Angel Hernandez. All right, well, another story. Alek Manoah. You remember the saga of Alek Manoah this year when he got sent like to back fields in Florida because he couldn't pitch. Well, apparently he's not pitching in the organization at the moment because he's not ready to be on the mound, according to him. John Schneider. Nice. John Schneider, the manager, said at the current time he feels like he's not ready to compete, so we're going to respect that and kind of move on from it. We're working through every decision with him together as a group and respecting his requests along the way. Now, he was demoted to AAA in August and is reportedly unlikely to pitch again this season because he's prioritizing rest and recovery from multiple ailments. However, the Blue Jays say they have not found any structural damage in all the tests that they have done. So,
sounds like, look, we're no doctors, but it sounds like he needs a break.
Yeah,
sounds like he just needs to get away from baseball for a minute. Yeah.
He needs like a kind of like a mental checkout, you know, like
get him to the off season,
you know.
Yeah. And then one thing I thought of this week: does anyone miss watching pitchers hit?
No.
At all. No. And for those of us, and I was one, because I was before interleague play, I was a National League guy.
Me too.
I liked the strategy of the game. The game's different though. There's no strategy anymore. Now it's just go up and jack the ball. I mean, that's the strategy. And to see pitchers hit would be miserable, to the point where I think anyone like myself, we were dumb to ever be anti-DH. DH is fantastic. It's so much better than just the wasted time of watching hitters stand up there and just watch 3 strikes go by.
I instantly became a fan of the DH as soon as they changed it. Like it just makes for a better game. It's faster. All of the strategy behind, you know, what do you do with the pitcher? Do you make him do a bunt, or, you know, I don't want to see pitchers take bunts, right? I don't want to see a pitcher getting his hand hurt. This is too much weird stuff goes on when you see pitchers hitting. So DH is the best thing that happened.
And I think we got too many guys in the lineup now that are hitting a $192. Why do I need another one?
Right.
I mean, at least have a guy that hits 192 that might hit the ball out of the park.
I think there's still strategy. It's just like a different type of strategy.
It doesn't involve bunting.
No, but like later in games,
stolen bases and hit and run, that's become a lot more than it
later
has
in
been.
Games. You're having to figure out, you know, do we pinch hit for this guy, or if we substitute defensively, does it change the DH strategy and all that? Like it's a little different, but yeah, I don't miss those, like, you know, automatic 2 outs at the beginning of games.
Right.
The first 4 innings of the game, 5 innings of the game. I mean, look, when I was a kid, the Braves would play. When a pitcher would ground out to an infielder, you could literally hear Bobby Cox yell, "Slow down," at the pitchers as they ran to first base, because he didn't want them to get hurt. Like that was all he cared about, was not getting hurt. And like, you know, maybe a pitcher would sacrifice every once in a while, but most of the time they just came up there. Maddox would just barely swing the bat. Like, you know, it doesn't bother me at all to have the DH, and I thought it would, because I, like you, Fish, I was like an NL guy. Like, oh, this is the way it's supposed to be played. But I don't know, maybe it helps that we have Marcell Ozuna DHing for us. But
yeah, no kidding. Speaking of the Braves, this week won 3 of 4 at Philadelphia, 2 of them in extra innings. Acuna hit a couple of home runs to give him 37. Olsen hit 3 in the series. Ozuna hit his 34th. Riley's 35th. Riley was the 3rd Braves player with 35 homers this season. That tied for the most with 35 on a team in MLB history. That was then broken when Ozuna hit number 35. Yeah, becoming the 4th player to do it. Kyle Wright, 6 earned runs in 3 innings pitch. Spencer Strider won his 17th. He was great. 9 strikeouts, 424 so far as a starter, the most in a pitcher's first 50 starts since 1893. And it was his 49th start. So he's got one more to add those strikeouts to his mark. And then clinched the 6th division straight for the Braves. 23rd division title. Most by any team since the divisional era began in 1969. But then you got swept 3 at Miami. Olsen did hit his 52nd. That broke a tie with Andrew Jones for the most in a single season. Albies became the 5th player with 30 home runs this year on the team. Pretty amazing what they're doing offensively. All right. Tell us about the week, Lang. I just kind of mapped it out.
The most fun part was the winning the division and celebrating on the field and
in Philadelphia.
That was pretty cool. And in the locker room there, and that night watching everybody celebrate and spraying champagne. We were trying to see, my friends and I were texting because we were trying to see which guys were trying to sneak a butt in the back of the locker room, or which guys were drinking this or that. So it was fun to have that happen. We had talked about the Phillies manager, Rob Thompson from Matchbox 20, was upset that the Braves were celebrating on their home runs.
Yeah.
Acting like they haven't been there. He came off like the Colorado State coach.
He said, I like our guys to act like they've been there before.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Phillies do like a big balls dance or something when they get a hit or like a little thing. Like, come on, dude.
And they got Harper out there. It was like a peacock. So what are you talking about?
Yeah. I mean, aren't we past this?
I guess not.
Haven't we evolved? Haven't we changed? Don't we celebrate it? I mean, you look at bat flips now today. I mean, you see them on Twitter every night. Yeah. I mean, there are Twitter accounts for bat flips. I mean, and you're seeing it every night, and it's great. I mean, I'm wondering where that line's going to be that someone's going to cross.
There's no line, Fish.
I don't know what the line is.
There's no line because they're throwing up the bats like Bobby Smurder. It's like they just the bats is just coming like it. It's like I think the Braves have like a throwing up the bat practice that every batter goes through because everybody has their signature way of throwing up the bat. You guys are ridiculous with the bat throwing. I mean, I love it. It's hilarious, but y'all be like throwing bats up, doing flips, throwing them behind the back. It's like, I love it, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Tyler Matzik took exception.
Yeah, the former Brave.
Yeah.
Yeah. He took exception to the Phillies. Yeah. He's like, if you don't want to see it, don't let him do it.
Yeah. He said admire it like the rest of us.
I think part of that series in Miami this weekend was just the Braves being hungover, from that Phillies, because the clinching game was the last game of that series, and then actually the next day they had a day off the next day, and someone posted a video of I think it was Albie's wife or whoever, girlfriend or somebody, posted a video of them in the car together, and Albies did not look like he was doing well a day after that celebration. So maybe they were all kind of hung over a little bit from the victory going into that Miami series. They play the Phillies again this week, so I would like to see them bounce back a little bit. There's been some talk among Braves fans who are upset that Strider's pitching against them again this week because we could play the Phillies in the playoffs, and you don't want to give them that many looks at a guy before the playoffs. But they're pitching Nola and Wheeler in this series, so they're clearly kind of lining it up to try to win this thing. So hopefully the Braves are able to bounce back at home against the Phillies this week.
Even the series against Philadelphia that the Braves won, bullpen was shaky all week. And, the bullpen, at least numbers wise, hadn't been bad. It's been the starting pitching that's been questionable, but the bullpen, they didn't do very well the last week either.
It's been kind of hit or miss. There've been valleys where for a week or two where they can't get anybody out, or the bullpen just doesn't seem very clutch or whatever. So I'm glad that I always felt like when the Braves were so good back in the 90s, they would be great, and then it would be heading into the postseason, and they would rest everybody, and they'd get cold, and they'd go into the postseason and lose. And I feel like maybe we get that out of our system right now, and then we can get hot again, because we got to get hot, right?
Yeah, got to get hot. Get hot.
So we got to get hot before the postseason starts. So we get 2 weeks to get this out of our system and hopefully turn this around.
The Cubs are in the midst of a crazy wild card race right now in the National League. Wild card, you have the Phillies. They have a 3.5 game lead. And then you have the Diamondbacks, Cubs, Marlins, and Reds, all within a game of each other for 2 spots. Not a good week for the Cubs. Lost 2 of 3 at Colorado. Chris Bryant just beat y'all up. How do you let that happen?
I listen. That probably was the worst loss of the season for us. Like, we needed those. We were supposed to beat Colorado and win those games to kind of give you padding for the butt whooping you know you're going to get from Arizona, because Arizona's like seething right now. Like they're like looking at everything. They want to eat everybody right now. So that was painful. We had no business losing that series to Colorado. It was just that was disgusting. I was more angry at the Colorado series than I was at the Diamondback series. So it's terrible.
Yeah, and Marcus Stroman's back and he's in the bullpen.
I would just shut him down. I don't even know why he's back yet. Like, what? Wasn't that a serious injury that he had? Like, wasn't that like some?
If you're able to pitch, you're able to pitch. If you're able to pitch, start. I mean, what? I mean, if you're kind of injured, you don't
that's
throw.
what I'm saying. I don't know if he's able to pitch. Like, why do you? They have him in the bullpen for a reason, because he's not ready to pitch.
Right. So it doesn't make sense.
Why are you even doing that? That's my point. Like, it's just it's an oxymoron. It's stupid.
Yeah.
You know, if the guy's ready to pitch, have him resting, and have him come out maybe a few games before the playoffs. But come on, man, don't do this.
Steele got roughed up.
Yeah, he's bound to have one of those bad games. He's been our horse.
Not a good time. Not a good time for the Cy Young Award, because everybody's just drooling over Blake Snell.
I don't even know what that's about. But
Strider got lit up last week too. One of those starts.
Listen. I don't know what happened that series. I know that the game before last, when it went into extra innings, I think it was the 13th inning or something like that.
Yeah.
And that play, the comebacker coming back to the dude's back, the pitcher's back, and that's the way we lose the game. We had 3 leads at 3 different times in that game. You know, that was painful. I just, how Cubs fans get spooked, Fish. You know how we are. You know oh man, the sky's falling on us now. It's about to happen. It always happens on us. So I'm going to be calm. I'm going to wait to see what we do with these next few games. But it's so tight that we can't afford to just lose series like that.
I mean, great opportunity this week. You have 3 at home against Pittsburgh and 3 at home against Colorado. I mean,
yes, you would think
this needs to be a big week.
Yeah, you would think that would be, swept games right there looking at us. But what happened in Colorado, man, really gives me pause. More than, like I said, more than what happened in Arizona. Arizona, they're a buzzsaw right now. They would be beating anybody that's in front of them. They would beat the Braves. They would beat the Dodgers. That's how in tune and locked in. They're hot.
They're getting hot.
They got the T-shirts. They got the get hot T-shirts right now.
That's right.
But the Colorado series, man, that's just and Brian, come on, that's I'm gonna use your word, disgusting.
Disgusting. The Cardinals, after winning 2 of 3 against the Braves, they took 2 of 3 at Baltimore.
Break them up.
I mean, what? And then they lost 2 of 3 against Philadelphia. The Cardinals also clinched a sub 500 season for the first time since 2007. 16 years ago. Now, here's why we're miserable Cardinal fans right now. And you can say, oh, you've won all these world championships, second most of anybody in Major League Baseball history. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you've been to the playoffs more than anybody other than the Yankees in baseball. Yeah, I know. It's true. But here's the problem. From 2000 to 2015, the Cardinals were in the playoffs 12 times and averaged 5.5 victories in those 12 postseasons. From 2016 to today, the Cardinals have had 4 postseason wins total. Since 2016, they've won 4 playoff games total. But the good news is Ollie Marmol's coming back to be the manager next season.
coming back on the horse, Fish.
Don't you? But like Fish, you seem clearly to be ready to put the blame on Marmol. You don't put this on whoever that GM. What's the GM's name?
John Mazalek. Yes, absolutely. I put it on him. But I mean, I don't put the losing season on Marmol. No, I think that's front office certainly did. I just don't think Marmol's a good manager.
Right.
And I don't think he got the most out of his team. And I think just because of his, that was always, it's always easy when teams lose to look at a manager and say he's making poor decisions.
Right.
But his decisions were poor from day one of the season. And really, I wasn't a fan of his last year either.
So,
but I mean, I can just nitpick and tell you all these things that just bother me about Ollie Marmol as a manager, even if he had the right talent. If you have the right talent, yeah, you're going to be much better. But I still don't like the way he manages.
So do you think if, I don't know, Brian Snitker or Dave Roberts or whoever was the manager of the Cardinals, they'd be, I don't know, 10 games over 500, 500? Like what would how would it make things different?
I think you'd be closer to 500. I don't think it's a huge, I don't think it's a 20 game difference.
Right.
But I'd say 5 to 10 game difference. And now the Cardinals now are playing to lose. I mean, now they're playing to get a top draft pick because they have a dude named Richie Palacios who hit 3 home runs against Baltimore. Never seen the guy before. And that was great. And Walker's playing and Gorman's playing and Mason Wynn's playing. So I mean, you got a bunch of dudes right now. You're playing AAA baseball now. And you have no chance to win. So your record's going to be a lot worse than what it could be if you would have tried to play it out and compete, but you gave up a month ago.
I feel your pain, Fish, because actually, when you see some of the moves that Marmol was making, Walker's not ready.
Contreras
throwing Contreras under the bus, not really speaking up for him.
Throwing Tyler O'Neill under the bus 5 games into the season.
Yeah. Like there's certain things that, because I know, Lane, you hit on every team has dysfunctionality, right? Every team is dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm.
But your manager is supposed to be calming things down. Now he may not have any power over how dysfunctional a team is, but don't allow players to be thrown under the bus. That's the bottom line. That's what I'm getting at.
And maybe especially if you're the one throwing them under the bus.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes. And he did it twice. So that's bad management, man. That's like, there's certain things you don't do as a management. It's like cardinal sins. Cardinal sin is you don't let one of your players get thrown under the bus. You gotta protect them, and you don't throw your player under the bus.
It's a cardinal sin, all right.
Cardinal sin.
Yeah, but he's back. Right? He's coming back though. He'll be back next year.
Good.
So what do you think you're gonna do, Fish, in terms of the off season? Are you already plotting who you want to kind of like poach in terms of pitchers? Are you looking at anybody right now that's going to be
Cardinals be in on Ohtani? They should go after Ohtani.
Cardinals are in on Ohtani. Yeah, Cardinals are in on him. Any pitcher that's available, Cardinals need to be interested in. Make a list and start at the top because the Cardinals need at least 3. They need 3 pitchers.
Wow.
That's how bad their staff was this year. I mean, Wainwright's still pitching for crying out loud.
Right.
So, I mean, you and everybody's a free agent except I think Michaelis. Michaelis is the only one back, and boy, he is just when it doesn't matter, he is pathetic. Just he doesn't give a crap, and you can tell, and it's miserable to watch. And so yeah, they need 3 starters. That's where it starts for what they need to do next year. So, and they keep saying that's their goal and that's what they're planning on doing. So we'll see. Now, Adam Wainwright, congratulations to Waino. He did get win number 199, went 5 innings, gave up 2 earned runs against Baltimore and beat the Orioles at Camden Yards. Victory number 199. Tonight, he goes against Milwaukee and Freddie Peralta for win number 200. So just a couple more chances for Wainwright to get to 200. Go Waino. See what happens.
I mean, he's playing all of these teams that's just mashing people right now. And if That's the worst team to really try to get 200 on.
But who did
yeah.
he got the win against somebody good, right?
I
It was
know, I
Baltimore.
know. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. It's just crazy to me. Like the
Yeah,
whole
his
thing
last
is
two
crazy.
starts, he went against the Braves and in Baltimore, and it was like no chance there, but he got one. So we'll see what he can do tonight against Milwaukee. All right, around Major League Baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies, they lost 3 of 4 to Atlanta, but then did win 2 of 3 against the Cardinals. Kyle Schwarber hit his 44th. He's got 90 home runs in the last 2 seasons, passing Jim Thome for the most by a player in their first 2 years with the Phillies in team history.
Has he gotten over 200 yet? Is he 200? 200 batting average?
No.
Because that's going to be the watch. I wanted to see if he's able to get to 200.
No, I think Muncy climbed over 200 this week, but I think Schwarber's still like a $192.
We look.
Yeah, we'll check that out to make sure. And he hits leadoff, just to remind everybody. He's a leadoff hitter.
He is currently batting 197.
He's getting there.
Get the 200, baby. Get the 200.
197. Bryce Harper became the 6th active player to record 1,500 hits, 300 home runs in his first 12 seasons, joining Miggy Cabrera, Mike Trout, Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, and Manny Machado on that list. Cardinals have 2 guys on that list, for crying out loud. The Miami Marlins, they are tied with the Cubs currently for that final wild card spot in the National League. They lost 3 of 4 at Milwaukee, but then they swept the Braves. Jake Berger hit a couple of bombs. He's got 33. Jorge Soler hit his 36th. And Jazz Chisholm became the first Marlin with a grand slam in back-to-back days. But bad news on the pitching front. Sandy Alcantara, UCL sprain.
Jeez.
He could be done for the
worst possible
season.
time. Lang, I was cursing out the TV set in that series. The fact that y'all let them beat you, I'm looking at that like, okay, that's going to be a cushion for the Cubs. Like, I'm just checking that box. That box is easily checked.
No,
I was infuriated over
was
that.
too.
Those losses. So.
I was too.
Jeez.
Because yesterday we lost, 16-0 or something like that. Like,
I think he scored a couple. I think it was like 16-2.
I turned it off early. I don't know. It was so
I
bad.
did too. I did too. Because I figured I'm betting the Braves. They've lost 2 straight games, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Easy money. Not so much. Do I bet him tonight?
I think Kyle Wright's pitching tonight. He got lit
Against
up
Wheeler
last week. Yeah, he did not look good and he actually said, like, I'm still like a few weeks away from
being a few weeks away.
And they made him pitch. So I don't know.
Man.
Tonight's a tough one.
In the National League Central, Milwaukee Brewers, they just keep winning series. And that's why they continue to dominate in the Central and look like they're running away with that. They won 3 of 4 against Miami. They won 2 of 3 against Washington. The big news was they signed Josh Donaldson, who was let go by the New York Yankees. Donaldson hit a home run, which was his 11th, but the big news was Donaldson also got a single, which was his 7th.
He's just trying not to run.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Brewers have won 18 of 24. Devin Williams has 35 saves. Thinking about it this week in the National League, which team's bullpen closer do you think? Yep, I'd be scared to go up against that team. It might be Milwaukee.
Yes, it is Milwaukee. It's not.
I don't think it's close.
It's not a might be to it. It's definitely Milwaukee.
Wow,
that team is it's perfect right now. If there's ever a season that they could win it all, it's this season.
Because Atlanta's been a little shaky here recently. Iglesias.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is a disaster. Kimbrel is just terrifying if you're a Phillies fan.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, I forget his guy's name. He's really good. He might be a guy, but I mean, they're so young and new. I'm like,
right. Yeah.
Devin Williams has been there, man, and he's shutting guys down. So I don't know. I don't think people should discount Milwaukee going into this postseason. We haven't talked about Milwaukee at all because they're not in the wild card race. They've just kind of gone away and hidden from everybody. So they could be interesting this postseason.
Cincinnati's closer is Alexis Diaz.
Yeah.
His 37 saves.
Yeah. So I don't know. And the American League's not much better. I mean, Ryan Presley from Houston would probably be the guy, but every other team, it's kind of.
What happened to all the closers?
Where have all the closers?
I don't know, man.
Did the pitch clock mess them all up?
Everybody's so.
Like Kenley Jansen?
John Smoltz brought up something this week that I thought was it. Boy, John Smoltz, he can talk, man.
I'm
And
sure he brought something up.
When he when he brings stuff up, it's constant. He brings stuff up all the time. But I thought this one was interesting. He said, we are not far from having teams have pitchers who are like 3 or 4 inning guys. That were, because your starters are only going 5. But if your starters get lit up and they come out after 2, you're going to have 3 or 4 inning guys that are going to come in and pitch. And he said, you basically, it's a 6th starter that he's just kind of on ready to go 3 or 4 innings. He's like, we need to train guys to pitch 3 or 4 innings, because the way managers say that their bullpens are blown all the time, it's because you only are training guys to pitch 1 inning.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's always been the guy who has said, you know, if you're running 5 guys out there who are all going to pitch 1 inning and expecting them all to be perfect, it's not going to happen.
Well, Smoltz is also the guy who says, like, if you're a starter, that, you know, becoming a closer is the hardest thing anyone's ever done, because he did it. And
Yeah.
you remember, like, in the World
Smoltzy.
Baseball Classic when they brought in Ohtani to close against Trout, and Smoltz is like, well, this he's not ready for this. There's no way. And then he struck out the side or whatever he did. Like, you know, like you said, Smoltz bringing up a topic is not really a surprise.
No, not at all. All right. Cincinnati Reds, they won 4 of 6 games this week. They continue to win series as well. They are a half game out of the wild card in that jumbled mess in the National League. In the West, the Dodgers, they lost 2 of 3 against San Diego, but did sweep 3 at Seattle. Jason Heyward hit his 15th home run this year.
One of the best stories in baseball right now.
Man, they signed him to a minor league contract.
I love that story. I know, Lang, I know you've been kind of looking at it, you side eye a bit, but
no,
it's so good, like so cool. You know,
like
the
Heyward.
defensive plays that he's making out there, it's just, he's hitting for average. I mean, it's a cool story, man.
Yeah.
He made a great defensive throw the other night that was incredible. Threw a guy out at second base. That I mean, it was just vintage Jason Heyward.
Yeah, you kind of
got it off the wall, like, threw it on one hop, and right on the tag.
You kind of forget like how trumpeted he was when he came into the league. Like how they were like, this is going to be the next great black baseball player. This guy's going to go to the Hall of Fame. I heard Hall of Fame all the time.
He was from Atlanta. Yeah, I think his parents went to Dartmouth, and, like, you know, there's this whole story. I think his brother's a minor league manager now. He was, but you know, he and Freddie Freeman were the same class, sort of, and they were supposed to come up at the same time and together transform the Braves and be the future. Now they're both gone.
Yeah. Heyward left a lot sooner too.
Yeah. I saw him when he was in the minors. I went to spring training and I saw him take batting practice, and like everyone was just kind of hanging around being like, oh my gosh, like watch this guy hit. Because like, you know, it was one of those things where, and it's so like cliche at this point, but like, you know, the sound of it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. 10th NL West title in 11 years for the Dodgers. They clinched this week. San Diego's Blake Snell, Cy Young Award guy. He had another 6 shutout innings this week. He's 14-9 on the season. He's the first pitcher with 160 Ks and under 20 runs allowed in a 20-game span in a single season. How about that? Huh. But he does lead the league in walks too, and he is only 14-9.
Yeah, as I say, he's 14-9.
So I don't know. Juan Soto, our old friend Juan Soto, hit his 30th home run of the season. It's his second career 30 home run, 100 walk season, the 6th player in baseball history with multiple 30 home run, 100 walk seasons before turning 25. He joins Mel Ott, Mickey Mantle, Eddie Matthews, Jimmy Fox, and Ted Williams.
Listen, whenever somebody brings up Mel Ott, like you're doing something. Like that's the Mel Ott card comes out. Like, he's first player since Mel Ott.
That's right. Padres have won 4 straight for the first time this season. So
too late,
congratulations to them.
Too late. They got to do something with that team in the offseason. I don't know what they can do, but they got to do something.
San Francisco won 2 of 3 against Cleveland and then lost 3 of 4 at Colorado. A tough series for the Giants, but they have a big week this week. The Giants, they're a half game out of the wild card. They're 2 games out. And I think they're done after this week. They started to slide, so they're not part of those 4 teams. Again, the 4 teams: Arizona, Chicago, are currently in. Miami and Cincinnati are currently out, but they're all, separated by just 1 game. Giants are now 2 games out. Giants this week, 2 games at Arizona, 4 games at the Dodgers. This is the final week of the San Francisco Giants, which I'm happy for because, frankly, they're a boring team.
I just don't like their manager.
Oh, I like Gabe Kapler. He's my favorite part of their team.
Talk about a peacock.
Oh, he is. He peacocks, no question. Yeah. Arizona lost 3 of 4 at the Mets. Zach Gallen was rocked in that series, but then they did sweep 3 against the Cubs. So Arizona currently half game ahead of Chicago in that second wild card spot. In the American League, Aaron Boone got his 500th win. So nice. Congratulations, Darren Boone. And reliever Anthony Misowitz, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I don't know if that's correct. Did you see this? He was hit on the head with a line drive, the Yankees pitcher. I was actually watching this game. It was the Pirates and the Yankees, and I was watching the game when it happened. He took a line drive off his face. Now, the ball ricocheted to Aaron Judge in right field. I mean, it was awful. But when you saw the replay, it was almost like he kind of turned his head sideways a little bit to where it almost deflected more than hit him square. Because it hit him square, could have killed him. But the way it deflected, it was still a scary situation, certainly. But he was in good spirits. He was sitting up. He just, he was bleeding, so he had a towel on his head. But his eyes were open and he was talking and seemed to be okay. Anyway, he was released from the hospital. He's been placed on the 7-day concussion injured list. So good luck to him. That was scary for sure. Toronto, they got in the American League, by the way, the wild card. You have Toronto is a half game up, Texas, and then Seattle 1 game back. So Seattle is currently out of the wild card with Toronto and Texas, the 2 teams that are in. Toronto, they were swept by Texas in 4 games, and then they swept Boston in 3 games. Vlad Guerrero Jr. had his 23rd and 24th home run of the season. Tampa clinched a playoff spot for the 5th straight year. Are we surprised?
Not at all.
No,
not at all.
Although, I was reading about how like the Red Sox, I don't know if you have this on your list to talk about, the Red Sox fired their GM, president, and he had come from Toronto. He'd come from Tampa, where he was like, they were talking about, he was great at like, operating under a restricted budget or whatever they always say about the Rays.
Right.
And then he goes to Boston and he has money and he trades Mookie Betts and it doesn't work. But then I just saw today the Rays, sounds like their new stadium deal is good to go.
Really?
Yeah, Tampa Bay. I just brought this up on ESPN this morning. Tampa Bay Rays are expected to announce the completion of a deal for a new stadium in St. Petersburg on Tuesday. 30,000 seat dome stadium, which seems really small, but
perfect.
Set to open in 2028. It figures to end speculation about the Rays relocating to another city.
Interesting.
How about that? I think 30,000 is perfect.
Yep, for them.
It might look full.
I wonder how big that Marlins stadium is, because like they don't even, the upper deck's closed.
Yeah,
it was closed when I went to the game. I'm looking it up now. I wonder what
I bet it's in the 30s.
No, it's got to be more than the 30s.
37,000.
Yeah, I was about to say. I thought it was in the 40s.
Yeah, they don't really have seats in the outfield. There's some seats, but there's that big patch where they used to have that weird.
It's actually a pretty nice park. Oh, you
went?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, you and I both went. It was like going to the mall. We talked about.
Yeah,
but it's but like I don't know. Maybe the Rays just built something kind of smaller, and
Yeah.
But 30,000 feels really small.
Yeah. Well, Tampa did clinch a playoff spot. Their 5th straight season they've done that. And they now have 5 players with 20 homers in the season for the first time in franchise history. They are 22-10 since Wander has been off the team.
They're not even thinking about him, Fish.
Nope.
They want that story buried so badly that they are ready to like walk away from that. Like, wash their hands. That's it.
Yep. Baltimore clinched a playoff spot for the first time since 2016.
Good story. Good story.
Yeah.
I think
Good
they
for
have.
them.
I think they're behind the Braves for the second best record in all of baseball right now.
Let's see. Baltimore 93 and 56. Braves 96 and 53. Yeah,
And the
3-game
Dodgers
lead.
are third. It's not that I've been looking to see if the Braves are going to have the first record and to have home field throughout the postseason.
No.
However, but right now the Braves are still in the 1 slot, but Baltimore's not far behind.
No, not at all. What a year that they've had. They're a fun team to watch. Gunnar Henderson, he'll be rookie of the year. He hit his 26th and 27th. Adley Rutschman hit his 19th home run of the year as well. They split 4 with Tampa, which was huge, winning that final game yesterday in extra innings to have a 2-game lead over the Rays. If they would have lost yesterday, those teams would have been tied for the top spot in the American League East, but big win yesterday for Baltimore to maintain a 2-game lead. Minnesota, they still got they got their lead. They've clinched the Central. They're good. They haven't clinched it, but they're gonna. They lost 2 of 3 to Tampa. They won 3 of 4 at the White Sox. Royce Lewis, by the way, first player in baseball history to hit 4 grand slams in an 18-game span. How about that? That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
He's got 5 of them in 66 games.
I like that they're going to clinch postseason and they're 8 games over 500.
Yeah.
They're first place.
Yeah, they're boring. They're boring like San Francisco. In the American League West, the West is nobody wants to win it. Houston's currently in first place, 1.5 up on Texas, and Seattle is 2.5 back. Houston, they lost. How about this week for Houston? They're in first place because no one else wanted to take it. They lost 2 of 3 to Oakland and lost 2 of 3 at Kansas City as well. That's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Justin Verlander, home runs allowed this season. He pitched 94 1/3 innings with the Mets, gave up 9. He's pitched 49 innings with the Astros, has given up 9. So he has not been dominant.
It's been better than Scherzer.
Well, speaking of the Rangers, Max Scherzer pitched 5 1/3 scoreless innings, left the game. And Rangers general manager Chris Young said Scherzer will miss the remainder of the regular season with a low-grade strain of his teres major muscle.
It's always something. It's always something with that guy. Always.
Teres major muscle.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
I think they just be coming up with stuff.
Baseball has weird injuries, like the UCL injury. Does any person other than a baseball player hurt their UCL? Like, I wouldn't even know what it is.
I don't think so. I don't know, but I think it's like the tendonitis muscle down there.
What about
when I get tendonitis, I'm going to tell people my UCL is bothering me.
When you wear that bowling thing like you did last year?
When I put my sleeve on, yeah.
What about like the oblique injury?
The oblique, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. That only happens in baseball.
Mysterious oblique. You could just say that.
Apparently, if you hurt your oblique, it's like a death knell. You're out for like months. It's like the worst thing that can happen is to hurt your oblique.
Oh, you don't want to hurt the oblique.
But I don't know.
Because I don't know anybody who knows how to get there.
Yeah. Do you know anyone who's ever had an oblique injury? Like personally?
No. Never.
I don't know. I'm sure I have.
Yeah.
The Chris Young, the general manager of the Rangers, said it's unlikely Scherzer is going to be ready by the postseason as well. They paid him $10 million this year. Comes out to $222,000 an inning, $2.5 million per win, and he had 4 of them. So
it's worth it.
Yeah, and then they were swept 3 games at Cleveland, so not good. Angels clinched their 8th straight losing season. Oh, that's not good.
Congrats.
Shohei's done. This is how Shohei finished: 304 with 44 homers and 95 RBIs. Pitching 10-5 with a 3.14 ERA, 167 strikeouts. Amazing season for Shohei Ohtani, and finished with I don't know what WAR means, but he finished with a WAR of 10, which apparently in the games that he played is it's the fewest games ever played to have a WAR of 10.
I know WAR wins above replacements, and it's like basically how much better you were than if they'd stuck an average player in that spot.
Right.
Whatever.
How is that something that's real?
I don't know. I mean, it's technically.
I mean, isn't that offensive to the guy who could be the replacement?
I mean, I guess if you're the replacement, yeah.
Julio Rodriguez. How about the month and a half Julio's had? This week he was 10 of 26, 3 doubles, a homer. His average now is up to 287 with 30 homers, 99 RBIs, and 36 stolen bases. 4th player in baseball history to have a 30 home run, 30 stolen base season at age 22 or younger. Joins Mike Trout, Alex Rodriguez, and Ronald Acuna Jr. on that list. So
Kid
good
is
for
legit.
J-Rod.
Legit kid.
Ellie De La Cruz, he's struggling a little bit. He's starting to have his rookie struggles already. He's down to 235, but he does have 29 stolen bases in the short time that he's been in the big league. So certainly a threat there. 11 homers and 36 RBIs for him. On deck this week, Cardinals, Waino goes tonight. Takes on Milwaukee as the Brewers will be in town for 4 against the Cardinals. And then the Cardinals will go to San Diego to take on the Padres for 3. So I'll get to watch that crappy team this weekend. That's fun. I look forward to that. Atlanta, you got 3 with Philly and then 4 at Washington. That Washington team is sneaky.
Yep.
So be careful with that line.
Very.
I am. We'll be very careful.
Murph. It's a big week for the Cubs.
It's a huge week. 3
against the Pirates. 3 against Colorado.
We got to sweep them. Got to sweep both. We have to. Like, yeah, there's no breathing room right now. I mean, at this point, Cincinnati could leapfrog us. At this point, if we lose.
Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that. So, yeah, big series here with Pittsburgh and Colorado for the Cubs. Also around baseball, you have the Central leading Twins. They are in Cincinnati to take on the Reds for 3. Baltimore is at Houston for 3. San Francisco, as I said, big week for them. They're at Arizona for 2 and then at the Dodgers for 4 this weekend. So they could be out of the mix by the time we do the show next Monday. Toronto's at Tampa for 3 this weekend, and Seattle visits Texas, a big series there in the American League West this weekend. They have a 3-game set in Arlington. All right. So another big week of baseball. And yeah, and then when we meet next week, we're going to be down to it's the final week of the season, right?
Yeah.
7 games left next week. Oh my gosh.
Still got a lot to play this week.
And then we hit into the playoffs. We do this for the playoffs.
Oh man. So Lang, next week, you'll still be at worst. You'll be 36 games above 500.
At worst.
Me, at best or worst, I'm going to be right where I'm at. Right? It doesn't matter. Could go 0-7, 7-0. Doesn't matter. Murph. Whoo, man, what are we going to be talking about with your team next week?
We're going to be talking about how we're going to sweep these 2 bums of a team. That's what we're going to talk about. That's what I want to talk about. I want to at least get 12 games over 500 for the end of the season.
All right.
I'll take that.
I'm working on my Strider postseason mustache.
I see. I was about to comment on that, man.
I'll have to shave the rest, but
yeah,
we're getting there.
It's coming in pretty good. All right. Go Waino, go Cubs, and that's it. That'll do it for this week's edition. And get back Acuna.
Yeah.
That'll do it for this week's edition of Infield Fly. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk more baseball with you again next week. Enjoy the week of all the action on the diamond and that wild card race in the National League. We'll talk to you next week here on Infield Fly on Grind City Media.